Hi, I'm Bob with Get Details. Thanks for joining me. Today, we're taking a look at the top 100 companies in the world. This has been a really interesting project. According to Statistica, there are approximately 359 million companies in the world. Now, that's an amazing number, but the vast majority are small, individually owned businesses with only a few employees. Those are the backbone and bedrock of many economies, but around the world, especially in developed nations in Asia, Europe, and North America, there are some very large companies. Those are the subject of this video, the 100 largest publicly traded companies. Private companies, even though they may be large, are not included because it's not easy to get accurate stats on those companies. Here's how it works. We've compiled data that includes 3 criteria: a company's market cap, revenue, and profits. This is a quick overview of the latest figures available. This is not a solicitation to buy any of these stocks, and no recommendation is made for any of them. This is a commentary and factual listing of the top 100 companies in the world. Now sit back and let the numbers wash over you. We're starting with our first group of 10, starting at number 100. Notice there are 3 companies on each page. Now keep your eyes on the numbers as they increase because they only go up from here. Starting at number 100, we have companies from Asia and Oceania. Next at number 99, it's all USA, and that trend will continue for the next position. Then we start to see some diversity display itself. It's interesting to see different companies appear at different locations on this list. Goldman Sachs is 98th in profits, but you will see them again later at a much higher position. That's our first 10 companies in market cap, revenue, and profits. Our graph shows all 3, and our scoreboard shows the nation's numbers as we work our way to the top. For the most part, for Americans, Europeans, Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans, these are common, everyday companies, and that's why they're on this list. Most of these companies are huge. They manufacture anything anyone would ever need. And sometimes things we don't, but we still pay for it. By now, we've seen the top 20 in market cap, which is led by the U.S. Revenue, also American-dominated, and profits, likewise, a little lopsided. Hey, but don't worry, you're going to see many other countries making gains as we work our way toward number 1. Look at the name brand on just about anything you own that's been manufactured, and you'll find one of these names. But not all the top companies own factories or use trucks or ships to make their profits. Many of the largest companies in the world are financial, because it takes a lot of money for the world to operate, and for world-class companies especially. We are well into the compendium of corporations now, from 100 to number 1. Our scorecard continues to show the U.S. pulling away from competitors, and Japan is also doing well. Some of the other major segments include computers, communications, and transportation. There are some very large companies, in Asia especially, that manufacture electronic devices that populate the world's homes, offices, and automobiles. And speaking of automobiles, all the top manufacturers are represented on this list. Their enormous sums are indicative of their impressive outputs. Taking a quick look at the tally, the U.S. is still all on its own, but we do see some other countries being represented, especially China, which will continue to add to its totals. Most of these companies are multinational conglomerates, with operations across many countries, but not all of them. You'll notice many of the top Chinese companies have the word China in their name. This normally reflects the fact that there's heavy state investment in those concerns, unlike most of the other companies in Europe and the U.S. The U.S. continues to widen its lead in all 3 categories, but remember, as we get closer to number 1, the companies on the list get a lot more valuable. The numbers we see here are significantly larger than the ones just a few positions ago. It's also interesting that many competitors are very similar in size, like Ford and GM, Mercedes and BMW, MasterCard and Visa. You'll also find similar market caps, revenue, and profits among similar companies. We're about halfway to number 1 now. The US is still a clear leader in all categories. China is coming on strong, along with Japan, France, and Germany. There are 100 positions on this list, but there are 3 components to each position, which makes a possible total of 300 companies. But the actual numbers are much lower, because most large companies excel in all 3 categories. The UK is starting to show up now, France is showing strength, and so is South Korea. Are big companies good or bad? Well, that depends on your perspective, of course. But most of us agree that large companies do have pros and cons. Among the pros are economic growth and higher wages, allowing people to lift themselves out of poverty. We are really deep into commerce now. The top third of all companies are represented in this graph. Of course, the US is number 1, but check out China, really making a strong impact, along with Switzerland, Japan, and South Korea. Other pros of large companies include job opportunities and technological innovation. It takes a lot of money to do some things, and that takes a large company. But what about the cons? Well, large corporations can dominate markets, potentially stifling competition, making it harder on smaller companies. Hey, and don't forget about bureaucracy and environmental impact. These are the top 20%, and they are all amazing brands. Our scoreboard shows China continuing to be represented, and we also see Brazil and the UAE for the first time. These are the top 100 companies in the world ranked by market cap, revenue, and profits. We're also into some really big profits now. We're up to the first half of the top 10. We're getting really close to the top now. At number 5 through 2, here are some really impressive numbers. Notice some of these companies show up more than once here, often swapping places with other amazing companies. And now, our number 1 company in market cap is Apple. And look at those numbers, $3.287 trillion. And how about the revenue king? Not really a surprise. Walmart has almost 11,000 stores and an impressive $657 billion of revenue this year. And profits, the bottom line. The most profitable corporation in the world is Saudi Aramco, earning more than $230 billion a year. Let's do a little math. Make that a little easier to comprehend. That's equivalent to over $630 million a day. Now, that's still kind of hard to wrap your head around. How about $26 million an hour? That is truly amazing. And that is our list. The most amazing, expensive, and impressive companies on the planet Earth. Hey, thanks for watching. This video took many hours to compile all the stats, images, and details. I guess it would have been easier if I were an AI, but I'm human like you. Hey, be sure to check out our other videos on a variety of subjects and get details.